Master Alchemist Silas awakens to find his fingertips have turned to transparent glass overnight, the first symptoms of the dreaded Brittle Curse that has begun spreading through the Kingdom of Oryn. As the kingdom's most respected alchemist, Silas examines his crystallized fingers in his laboratory filled with bubbling concoctions and ancient tomes. Through the window, he observes the city of Oryn with its distinctive copper-roofed buildings and alchemical factories billowing coloured smoke. Already, some citizens move stiffly through the streets, limbs partially transformed to glass. Silas receives an urgent summons from the royal physician about the rapidly spreading plague, establishing the grim reality that dozens of citizens are fully transforming into glass statues each day. While frantically researching a cure in the royal library, Silas discovers a weathered codex hidden behind a false panel. The text contains cryptic references to the Primal Flame, an elemental force said to reverse alchemical transformations. As Silas translates the ancient script, his crystallized fingers crack slightly, sending sharp pain through his hands. The codex shows illustrations of glass-afflicted victims being restored by a mysterious blue flame. That night, Silas experiences vivid dreams of a mountain cavern, glowing with blue light. Upon waking, he discovers the crystallization has spread to his wrists, confirming his fears that he has only about 10 days before becoming completely transformed. The royal physician informs him that over 50 citizens have fully crystallized overnight. Silas presents his findings about the Primal Flame to the royal council, who are skeptical but desperate. The progression of his own crystallization allows him to calculate that he has precisely 10 days before complete transformation. Silas decides to embark on a quest to find the Primal Flame despite the council's hesitation. As he prepares to leave, he visits the city's glass garden, a cordoned area where fully transformed citizens stand frozen in various poses, their glass bodies reflecting sunlight in haunting beauty. Silas touches one statue, a child caught mid-run, and vows to return with a cure. He marks his arm with 10 notches, one for each remaining day, and gathers essential alchemical supplies for his journey. Silas seeks out Mistress Veda, an elderly alchemist who lives in seclusion at the edge of the city. Veda's workshop is filled with glass sculptures and preserved specimens, including a glass rose that somehow still blooms. Her own eyes have turned to swirling glass orbs, giving her visions of the in-between state. Veda reveals she has been studying the Brittle Curse for decades and believes it originated from an ancient alchemical experiment gone wrong. She teaches Silas how to create a stabilizing elixir that will temporarily slow his transformation and gives him a special compass that points toward sources of primal energy. Veda warns that the Primal Flame is guarded by those who believe it should never be used again. That night, Silas administers the stabilizing elixir, which causes excruciating pain but temporarily halts the crystallization at his elbows. Silas begins formal training under Veda, learning to attune himself to primal energies. She teaches him to create catalysts that can interact with transformed glass without shattering it. During their training, Silas discovers he can feel vibrations through his crystallized parts, sensing the songs of other glass objects. This ability allows him to detect other victims of the curse from a distance. Veda reveals that the Brittle Curse doesn't just transform bodies, it eventually captures the victim's final thoughts in the glass structure. Silas practices creating protective gloves for his fragile hands and learns to channel alchemical energies through his crystallized fingers, giving him new abilities but causing hairline fractures to appear in his glass skin. Vader presents him with an ancient map showing the 7 locations where fragments of knowledge about the Primal Flame are hidden throughout Oryn. Following Vader's map, Silas ventures into Oryn's notorious glass market, where merchants illegally trade in the possessions of the fully transformed. Here, he confronts a monstrous creature, a chimera of fused glass victims whose transformation went horribly wrong. The creature's multiple faces are frozen in eternal screams as it moves jerkily through the market. Silas uses his new alchemical skills to communicate with the trapped consciousnesses within the creature, learning that the glass transformation can be manipulated by certain alchemical compounds. The battle leaves Silas with a cracked forearm that he must carefully repair using Vader's techniques. After defeating the creature, Silas discovers the first fragment of knowledge. A glass vial containing swirling blue energy that, when consumed, reveals visions of the Primal Flame's location near the kingdom's northern mountains. Silas seeks out Ilara, a young crystallographer whose family has been studying the properties of magical crystals for generations. He finds her in her workshop surrounded by prisms and glass instruments, her left leg entirely crystallized. Ilara initially refuses to help, bitter about the curse's progression, but agrees when Silas shares his stabilizing elixir. They recruit Thomas, a 12-year-old orphan whose eyes have turned to glass, but granted him the ability to see magical energies. Together they form an unlikely alliance to seek the Primal Flame. Ilara brings crucial knowledge about crystal resonance that could help locate Flame, while Thomas's glass eyes can perceive hidden doorways and inscriptions. As they prepare to leave the city, they witness a wealthy merchant fully crystallize in the street, his glass form shattering as he falls, emphasizing the urgency of their mission. Silas, Ilara, and Thomas descend into Oryn's Undercity, ancient tunnels beneath the capital where the earliest alchemical experiments took place. The walls are lined with luminescent crystals that respond to Silas's glass hands and Thomas's glass eye. They discover hidden laboratories containing records of the first appearances of the Brittle Curse centuries ago. Ilara uses her crystallographic knowledge to decode patterns in the crystal growths, revealing they are actually ancient warning systems. Thomas spots hidden doorways that lead them deeper into the Undercity, where they find glass statues dating back hundreds of years, proving the curse has emerged cyclically throughout history. They recover another fragment of knowledge, a crystalline key that vibrates in the presence of primal energy. As they prepare to leave, they notice fresh tracks suggesting someone else is searching for the Primal Flame. While following the resonance of the crystalline key toward the city's eastern district, Silas and his companions are ambushed by Magistrate Corvus, the royal court's alchemist, who believes the Primal Flame should be used exclusively by the nobility. Corvus reveals his own hands are beginning to crystallize, but he's been hiding his condition. He demands Silas surrender his research and the artifacts they've collected. During the confrontation, Corvus demonstrates his mastery of offensive alchemy, using potions that accelerate the glass transformation. Silas protects his companions with his own alchemical shields, but the battle leaves his glass arms severely cracked. Corvus escapes with the crystalline key, forcing the group to continue their quest at a disadvantage. Silas marks the 5th notch on his arm, half his time gone, and notices the crystallization has reached his shoulders despite the stabilizing elixir. Taking shelter in Ilara's family home, Silas discovers her family's hidden history. They were once the royal crystallographers who allegedly created the Brittle Curse while attempting to develop immortality for the previous king. Ilara reveals her crystallized leg is not from the current outbreak but a family legacy. She was born with it as punishment for her ancestors' crimes. Her family has spent generations searching for a cure, collecting data on every outbreak. She shares her family's research, including a crucial discovery. The glass transformation preserves perfect memories that can be accessed through specific alchemical processes. Silas uses this technique on his own glass finger, accessing memories he didn't know he had, including a forgotten childhood encounter with the Primal Flame. This memory reveals that the flame is hidden within the royal palace itself, concealed by alchemical illusions. Thomas confesses that his glass eyes allow him to see these illusions, explaining why Corvus has now begun hunting the boy specifically. Silas, Ilara, and Thomas attempt to infiltrate the royal palace using Ilara's family connections. Inside, they discover the horrifying truth. Nearly half the court has partially crystallized, but hides their condition under elaborate clothing and gloves. The palace is filled with tension as nobles scheme to secure a cure for themselves. During their search, they witness the king himself, his face half transformed to glass, issuing orders to capture all alchemists who might know of a cure. The infiltration goes catastrophically wrong when Thomas is recognized by a court guard. In the ensuing chase, Ilara becomes separated from the group, and Silas watches in horror as she's captured by the royal guard. Before being taken, she manages to pass crucial information to Silas. The Primal Flame is hidden in the oldest section of the palace, accessible only through the royal crypts. Hiding in the city with Thomas, Silas falls into despair as the crystallization reaches his chest, causing breathing difficulties. Reports spread throughout the city that Corvus has convinced the king that the Primal Flame should be reserved only for the nobility once found. Public panic increases as hundreds more citizens fully transform daily. Silas attempts to create a more potent version of the stabilizing elixir, but the experiment goes wrong, accelerating his transformation instead of slowing it. In a moment of hopelessness, he considers surrendering to Corvus in exchange for Ilara's freedom. Thomas, showing wisdom beyond his years, reminds Silas that the cure must be for everyone or no one. When Silas checks his notched arm, he sees he has only 3 days left before complete transformation. Silas spends a night in agonizing reflection, his crystallized body becoming increasingly fragile. He can feel the glass creeping up his neck and across his chest. Through his glass parts, he begins hearing the songs of the fully transformed throughout the city, their consciousness still trapped and aware within their glass prisons. This revelation horrifies him. The transformed are not dead, but eternally conscious and immobile. Using this newfound connection, Silas communicates with the transformed citizens, creating a network of awareness throughout the city. Through this glass consciousness network, he locates Ilara, who is being held in the palace dungeons. Silas realizes his transformation, despite its horrors, has given him unique abilities that might be the key to finding the Primal Flame. He decides to use his connection to the glass citizens as a citywide intelligence network to plan a rescue for Ilara and a final push to find the flame. Using his connection to the transformed citizens, Silas discovers a shocking truth. Magistrate Corvus deliberately released the Brittle Curse from ancient containment vessels in the palace archives, believing he could control who received the cure. Through the eyes of glass statues in the palace, Silas witnesses Corvus interrogating Ilara about her family's research while experimenting with ways to selectively cure only certain individuals. Corvus reveals to Ilara that the king King plans to use the crisis to eliminate political enemies by withholding the cure. Meanwhile, Thomas uses his glass eyes to help Silas map the hidden passages beneath the palace. They discover the royal crypts contain glass statues far older than the kingdom itself, suggesting the curse has been weaponized by rulers throughout history. Silas realizes the Primal Flame isn't just a cure. It's an elemental force that could break this historical cycle of power and control. With crystallization now covering most of his body, Silas moves slowly and painfully as he and Thomas prepare for their infiltration of the palace crypts. Silas creates specialized alchemical tools that work with his glass hands rather than despite them. He distills his remaining elixirs into concentrated forms and teaches Thomas how to administer them if he becomes too transformed to move. Through the glass network, transformed citizens create distractions throughout the city, drawing guards away from the palace. Ilara, still imprisoned, manages to send a message through a partially transformed guard, providing the exact location of the crypt entrance and warning that Corvus has already begun the ritual to claim the Primal Flame for himself. As night falls, Silas marks the 9th notch on his arm. Only one day remains before his transformation completes. His face has begun to crystallize, making speech difficult as he and Thomas make their final approach to the palace. Silas and Thomas infiltrate the royal crypts beneath the palace, moving through narrow passages lined with the glass tombs of ancient royalty. Silas's now mostly glass body makes movement treacherous. Any fall could shatter him completely. They encounter palace guards transformed into glass sentinels, still conscious and loyal to Corvus. Using his connection to the glass network, Silas communicates with these sentinels, convincing some to let them pass by revealing Corvus's betrayal. In the deepest chamber, they find Corvus with Ilara as his prisoner. Corvus has already begun the ritual to access the Primal Flame, his body now half transformed. A massive alchemical apparatus surrounds a sealed door etched with ancient symbols. Silas confronts Corvus, their movements slow and deliberate as both men's glass bodies threaten to shatter with any sudden movement. Thomas uses his glass vision to identify the true door mechanism, while Silas distracts Corvus, leading to a tense standoff as both alchemists realize they need each other's knowledge to open the final chamber. A temporary alliance forms as Silas, Corvus, Ilara, and Thomas combine their knowledge to unlock the ancient chamber. Inside, they discover not a physical flame, but a swirling vortex of blue energy, the pure alchemical principle of transformation. Corvus immediately betrays the group, using a prepared catalyst to attempt to claim the flame for himself. The resulting alchemical reaction goes catastrophically wrong, causing Corvus's glass body to shatter into countless shards that remain animated by his consciousness, creating a swarm of razor-sharp fragments that attack the others. Silas shields Ilara and Thomas with his own glass body, sustaining serious cracks. The Primal Flame responds to the conflict, pulsing, sending tendrils of energy throughout the chamber. Silas realizes the flame isn't something to be possessed, but communed with. He steps into the vortex, his glass body beginning to resonate with the primal energy. Through this connection, he understands the true nature of the curse and the flame. They are opposing forces of stasis and change that must be balanced, not controlled. Within the Primal Flame, Silas experiences a profound transformation. The flame doesn't simply reverse his crystallization, but harmonizes with it, turning his glass portions into a new substance that is neither fully solid nor fully flesh. Emerging from the vortex, Silas demonstrates new abilities. He can shift between flesh and glass at will, controlling the transformation that once threatened to consume him. He defeats the shattered Corvus by absorbing absorbing the glass fragments into his own transformed body, containing the magistrate's consciousness. Silas then uses his new connection to the Primal Flame to begin healing Ilara and Thomas, stabilizing their transformations. He explains that the Brittle Curse was never meant to be permanent, but a step in an ancient alchemical process that was interrupted centuries ago. The Primal Flame begins to pulse rhythmically, growing in intensity, and Silas realizes it's preparing to expand beyond the chamber, ready to reach all those affected by the curse throughout Oryn. Silas, Ilara, and Thomas guide the Primal Flame's energy through the glass network connecting all transformed citizens. Throughout Oryn, glass statues begin to glow with blue light as the flame's energy spreads. The transformation is not a simple reversal. Citizens emerge with partial glass features that now function harmoniously with their flesh. In the palace, the king and his court experience the transformation, their plans for controlling the cure rendered meaningless as it spreads to all equally. Silas confronts the king, demonstrating how the new glass-flesh harmony grants abilities that could advance the kingdom rather than divide it. The glass garden, once a place of silent statues, becomes alive with movement as the formerly fully transformed citizens reawaken, their consciousness preserved through their ordeal. Families reunite with loved ones thought lost. Silas realizes that the kingdom itself has been fundamentally changed. The barrier between flesh and matter has been permanently altered in Oryn. Silas returns to his laboratory, now transformed into a center for studying the new glass-flesh state of Oryn's citizens. Ilara establishes a school of crystallography to help people understand and control their new partially crystalline bodies. Thomas, whose glass eyes now shift between states, becomes the first student and demonstrates remarkable talents for seeing both the physical and alchemical worlds simultaneously. Silas works to integrate Corvus's consciousness, still trapped within his own glass form, eventually giving the former magistrate a chance at redemption by sharing his knowledge. Veda emerges from seclusion, revealing she had always known the true purpose of the Brittle Curse. It was an ancient attempt to evolve humanity beyond its physical limitations that went wrong. Together they begin documenting the new alchemy that bridges the gap between living matter and elements, creating texts that will guide future generations. 1 year after the Primal Flame's release, Oryn has transformed into a society where the glass-flesh harmony has created new art, architecture, and science. Citizens can temporarily shift parts of themselves to glass for specific purposes, then return to flesh. Silas, now respected as the kingdom's savior, continues to bear more permanent glass features than most, as a reminder of the crisis. He establishes the Order of the Primal Flame, dedicated to maintaining the balance between transformation and stasis. In a private ceremony, Silas, Ilara, and Thomas return to the chamber of the Primal Flame, which has diminished but still burns. They establish a rotation of guardians who will ensure the flame never again becomes lost to history. Silas reflects on how his desperate 10-day journey to save himself became a transformation of an entire kingdom. As the three stand before the flame, their glass components glowing with its light, they make a pact to document their story as both warning and promise for future generations. The epilogue follows Silas as he completes his comprehensive text on the Brittle Curse and the Primal Flame. His laboratory now features a wall of glass vessels containing fragments of those who chose to remain partially in glass form, creating a council of consciousness that spans generations. Ilara and Silas have developed a personal relationship, their shared experience of the transformation creating a unique bond. Thomas has grown into a young man whose ability bridge multiple disciplines. The Kingdom of Oryn has established new ethical guidelines around transformation alchemy, with Silas insisting that all discoveries be shared equally among citizens. In the final scene, Silas stands in the renewed glass garden, now a place where citizens voluntarily shift to glass form temporarily for rest and reflection. He touches his own glass hand to the surface of a crystalline pool, sending ripples that create music as they touch the glass features of meditating citizens. The harmony of glass and flesh has created not just a new kingdom, but a new definition of what it means to be human.